Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video we're going to start taking steps to organize our project even further, and we're going to add the CSS so things start to look a little bit nicer. Let's get going on that now. Okay, so at this point things are coming along quite nicely. Now what we really want to do is go ahead and get some styles. I'm going to make a link available to a raw paste bin so that you can directly just copy and paste this into your styles file. But first we need to add a package so that it actually works. Let's head to our packages folder, and at the very bottom we can add a package that I actually made off of a fork here. We could call it S. Tolinsky and then stylus hyphen multi, M-U-L-T-I. Now you might be wondering why stylus. I personally use stylus in all of my own projects. I really like it a lot, and this one includes a whole bunch of little nice things, so you can actually paw through these styles and see what's going on here if you want. I'm going to create a new file in the root of my directory, and we can just name this styles.styl for stylus. STYL is the standard extension for stylus, and I will paste in these styles, and you can paste in the styles from the repo here. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but if you just want to check this out, it should make your site already look much better. So as long as you have the S. Tolinsky stylus multi package and you have these styles pasted into styles.styl, we should be able to head back to our site here, and hopefully this isn't broken for some reason. And as you can see, my resolutions is already looking quite a bit nicer. Obviously, there's some things that are totally wrong here. So let's head back to our HTML. Let's go to our layout. So let's start at the layout first and sort of work inwards. So let's head to client layouts, main layout. Now the first thing I want to do here is we have this class main layout. Great. Let's go ahead and add a header. Now inside of this header I can add an H2 that says my resolutions. Okay, and we can have a nav item. And I'm actually, instead of having an order list here, because this is just sort of quick, I'm going to have just a couple of links. So href, and this is going to be equal to / and this is just going to be resolutions. Okay, and now let's go ahead and have another one which can be about. We don't have an about page yet, but we should probably make one at some point. That way we can even add some more routing stuff. Cool, so we now have our nav, and we have our header, we have our content. However, our content, we want this to actually be inside of a main tag. So we can have main / main, okay, because this is the main section of our website. And if you wanted to have a footer, we could have a footer too, but I don't have any content in the footer plan, so that's really up to you at this point. If you add it or don't add it, it's not going to do much. So we can see we have our main layout here with our header, navigation. Let's check back to our page. And as you can see, again, things looking a little bit better. We have some nice little transitions here. We have our links up top. So let's go ahead and talk about project structure a little bit. Right now, we're not doing anything particular. Let me close this Meteor folder so that things are a little bit obvious. We have our resolution single, our resolutions form, and our app.jsx all living in the root of our document. Now, that's not sort of ideal at all here. And in this instance, what we can do is we can move a lot of these things into our client folder. Let's go ahead. I'm going to open up Finder here just so this is a little bit easier than doing it through Sublime Text interface. And as you can see, resolutions form, resolution single, we have client and layouts. I'm going to make a new folder inside of client, and this is going to be resolutions. Now the reason for this is that I personally prefer a sort of feature-based folder structure. So everything that has to do with resolutions, such as the resolutions form, the resolutions single, are all going to go inside of client resolutions. Now, app.jsx, yeah, that's it's okay, but it doesn't really necessarily make sense to have this be called app.jsx. Even though this is our app, it's really just the resolutions page. If we were to have an about page, none of that content would be in here. We'd be using the main layout and we'd be bypassing app.jsx entirely. So let's actually change this file name to resolutions with an S, and let's throw this inside of client. Okay, I'm actually now going to throw this inside of the resolutions folder itself. So now we have resolutions, resolutions form, resolutions single. Now you'll notice we have all of these within client. We haven't done any server-side stuff. And it's one thing that's important to note is that if we're going to be doing server-side rendering, which is actually going to be covered in a more premium video in this series that's only available through purchase, then you don't want to actually throw this stuff into client. However, since all this stuff's getting rendered client-side right now, putting it in client is certainly no issue. Now, Sublime Text is going to complain if you had these files open, so I'm going to click Don't Save on all of these just so the paths are correct. And we're going to have some work to do to make sure this works correctly. So let's start again at main layout. Nothing's going to change in this file. Main layout is good now. So let's close that. Let's head to routes.jsx. We used app and app.jsx and app all within this. Let's also come to resolutions and resolutions.jsx. So what we really want here, we want this class now to be as resolutions. So export default class resolutions is now going to be appropriate because this is resolutions.jsx. So I just changed the component app to resolutions, which does make sense because it encompasses all of our resolutions and it lists a single resolution and as well as the resolution form. Let's go ahead back to the routes file where we can now change import app to import resolutions from resolutions.jsx. However, this path is now totally wrong. Since we're in the client folder, we need to remove this one dot and add a resolutions / so we now have resolutions.jsx. So it should now be finding this component correctly. And now app once more again needs to be changed to resolutions. Now this makes way more sense because, like I said, this isn't necessarily our entire app. So now let's head to resolutions.jsx to make sure nothing else is broken before we imported the form and the single from the same directory. So even though this has moved paths entirely to an entirely new location, since it's a relative path, we don't have to update this at all. It's still going to find this file in the same folder. Cool, so let's actually head to our page now and see if we broke anything. That's the best way to sort of figure this stuff out sometimes. Just sort of see what's broken, fix it. So now we're going to see that resolutions.find is not a function, and we now have a problem. Now this problem stems from defining resolutions. We have resolutions being defined everywhere, right? So let's go ahead and actually fix this. We're going to now change this to resolutions wrapper, okay? So resolutions wrapper in routes.jsx now needs to be changed as well to resolutions wrapper and resolutions wrapper. Likewise, we can also change the file name to resolutions wrapper as well as rename this to resolutions wrapper. Okay. So this is an important lesson because as you can see here, we're already using resolutions as a variable. It's going to get confused. It has no idea what I'm talking about when I say resolutions.find. So let's go ahead and now check this out, refresh, and all of a sudden we're getting another error. It can't read text of undefined. Now, if you were to console log this .res, you would see that we're not getting anything, and you might be wondering why that is. We didn't change anything here. We're getting resolutions from new Mongo collection. Resolutions.find should be finding it. However, what we're not defining ever is the Mongo collection on the server. Before, when we had this file in the root of our directory, this Mongo collection find was happening on both the client and the server. So what we can do is actually create a new folder in my resolutions called server, and inside of here I'm just going to make a new file, and I'm going to call this publish for reasons, publish.jsx, I should say, for reasons that are going to become more obvious once we remove auto publish and subscribe. So resolutions, new Mongo collection resolutions inside of server publish.js. You get that. Now we should be able to refresh, and all of a sudden we have our data once again. Cool. So if it seems like we're just breaking and fixing things, breaking and fixing things, and breaking and fixing things, it's really sort of the process of learning. Obviously, through this course, what I want you to do is make some of the mistakes that you're going to make when you're actually working. So by making these mistakes, it allows us to see the actual way of doing things and why things work correctly. So as you can see, we now have a much more organized application. Our client-side code is all living in client. We have our layouts, we have our resolutions form, single, and we have the wrapper. The wrapper itself is really just sort of grabbing data and laying this thing out. I'm going to get rid of that console log here, but as you can see, it's just sort of wrapping this up. Cool, so this project's looking a ton nicer, but as you can see, we still have a long ways to go. We're still using these prototyping packages for auto publishing and auto subscribing. We're still using the insecure package. So obviously, these are things that we're going to want to take care of in the next few videos. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you want to help support the creation of these free videos, head to store.leveluptutorials.com. And you can purchase this series along with code from every single video that I've made in this series, and even some videos that are unreleased and will not be released on YouTube ever, including things like server-side rendering and routing with React Router. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.